So we talked kind of briefly before about, and before I even say this, I was kind of shocked that you were even willing to talk about this, and it's white supremacy.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because in my experience, when you say that, when you say those two words, most white people I've dealt with seem to get defensive immediately. Like, why are you attacking me? I'm not those people. I wasn't around when that was happening, or I didn't have slaves, or whatever. It's a kind of an immediate, negative reaction to it. So, the fact that you're even willing to kind of talk about it and share your opinions and thoughts about it, I think is interesting and very exciting, because I don't think we are able to move on and grow if we don't deal with our issues. I think they just kind of remain there, and they fester, and they get worse. And because, like I said, in my experience, a lot of the white people I've dealt with try to act like that's not a real thing. And I think when they think of white supremacy, I think they think about, like the Klan, or these extreme examples of it, which don't exist today. Today, I believe it's more subtle. So let me do this. Let me stop talking about what I think it is, and kind of get your opinion about what you think it is, as it exists today.
Yeah. That's another really big one too. I mean, like a lot to talk about. So no, it's good. And I'm glad you brought it up. Well, if I can maybe start with, and I forgot to share, I went to this country too, but more recently, just in August, I was doing a training for a school in Belize, and just had a really great time. I mean, the I don't know how familiar people are with Belize. A lot of people aren't sure, but the majority of the people are dark skinned, and talk with a very strong accent, like Caribbean accent maybe, but English. And so anyway, just painting that picture, and a very poor country, developing country, and unfortunately, they have had some really horrific things happen to them with the way that they have been treated as a school. And I don't want to give too much. This has happened recently. So one of the leaders was very open with me. I guess just being blunt. Yeah. I don't, she won't care, but a woman and dark skin was very, very hurt by some white people, especially white men, coming from the U.S. now with good intentions originally to be helping the school financially and helping with some structural things, as like the previous founder had passed away, and so this other organization was coming to kind of help with that, take over and help support financially and things, structure. But I'm really thankful that she confided in me after, I was doing the training, and just really trying to pour hope into these teachers, and really, letting them share all these great experiences they had, and celebrating their experiences and their education. But she really opened up, saying that, these white men have come and just really talked down to her as a leader of the school, and other presenters have come, white presenters that have come to teach the teachers, but in a way that it's very authoritative, and like, we have all these things to teach you. rather than celebrating, like, okay, these teachers might look differently and speak differently and from a different country, but they have wealth of experience and knowledge. So that was very, like, anytime I hear things like that, makes me very angry, but makes me remember how real and in our face it is. And granted, that was in a different country, but still, I think a valid example of white supremacy, of kind of going into either another culture or another type of environment and making it like their way is best or better, or you're lower than us, and just kind of assuming authority or assuming anything like that just makes me cringe to the core. I just, was so angry with her hearing these stories, and really validated the way that it made her feel as a professional, as a woman, having all of this experience in the past, just going right over her head with some of the things that they were deciding. So that's maybe one. Is that kind of what you're wanting me to share? Or?
Yeah. So it sounds like you're saying,
okay.
Because I was curious to just hear how you perceive it, because I know how I perceive it, and a lot of people who know me know how I perceive it and how I talk about it. But we're not here to hear me talk all the time. So,
yeah, it's just, I mean, personally, it fills me with an extreme amount of anger. But the anger is because of whoever's coming in as, the white supremacy, their arrogance, lack of respect, lack of acknowledging a different way is okay or right or better. That, like, not acknowledging other people's experiences, other people's opinions. I think, it's just complete injustice for validating whoever it is that you're abusing, basically, abusing authority over them, taking away their experience, all the value of things that they have to add to the situation. In that case, it was a school setting, and in other cases, it could be something different.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're kind of saying, and correct me if I'm not interpreting this right. It sounds like you're saying one of the ways it's manifesting itself in things that you've seen is that it shows up in a way where it's like, our way is the right way, your way is the wrong way. Mm-hmm. We know more than you. And
exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so it's that kind of attitude combined with the positions of authority that they hold.
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Because, you would be blind if you weren't admitting that white people are in a lot of positions of power in the United States and throughout the world. And I guess being in a position of authority and having those kind of thoughts and opinions is toxic, in my opinion. Because if you're not open to other people's views, you're going to basically, I would think, continue to push your agenda. And I'm not saying it's all, ill will. I think some of it could be ignorance. It could even be innocent. Maybe it's the only thing that they know. And they, maybe they believe their way is the right way. And the only way. And these other people are lesser than them and don't know as much as them or whatever. It's that kind of thinking that I think manifests itself in a number of ways throughout the country and the world. And it could be manifesting itself in education and within the police department, at your job. It could be anywhere.
Right.
And I think it keeps other races and cultures down. So I'm not trying to put words in your mouth.
No, I 100% agree with all of that.
Is that kind of how you see it or interpret it?
Oh, definitely. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, like assuming because of a certain look or whatever it might be, assuming lesser experience, lesser education, that, yeah, like you said, maybe not a position of authority. I think all of that is, just complete evil to judge that way or to assume those things. And it's correctly, it's absolutely wrong view of, viewing people and assuming those things. I think there's been a lot of assumption. I don't even know if you want to talk about this, but stop me or edit.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, just in the churches, I think a very, very wrong view of God and Jesus being a white God or a white Jesus. I think that kind of took a really nasty spiral effect that, like, maybe at the beginning of this country really hurt a lot of understanding of authority. And, just like that is so extremely wrong, whoever's listening to this, to ever think that God or Jesus is white. Like, so extremely wrong. And so for anybody that kind of had that view, we would think, if that's what you believe, like, oh, the creator God is the highest supreme being. Like, if you have the wrong view of picturing that that's a white God or a white Jesus, that could skew your whole understanding. You know what I mean? Like, I've heard people give story of growing up in a type of place that was teaching, maybe subtly or subconsciously teaching that, but that just really warps their whole view of authority and, the way that they kind of saw it distorted that way.
Why is it wrong? Why are you saying it's wrong?
Oh, maybe, it is wrong if you believe.
I know why it is. I just want
Okay.
to see if you can explain why you think it's wrong for them to assume he's white.
It's almost like they associate maybe they are white too, so that puts them in a position of, leadership or in some way higher than other races. Mm-hmm. Which is so evil, like completely evil. But maybe in their mind, and it could be completely subconscious that they're not even like processing this. But I wonder if that, was maybe one of the downfalls of, many, many things. But like we were talking before, I'm just trying to process it too, of like how this happened, why it's continuing. And didn't know if that maybe had anything to do with why a white person would think of themselves as a higher level or in some way have a more, like, what's the word I'm looking for?
Superior, I don't know.
Yeah, just that they, like, justified in being a higher level, or like, I just don't understand how that could ever be possibly right in their eyes, like how they could think that that's okay. Or
because you said to me, in your world travels, I don't know if you told me this because you saw this after you've had some time traveling, or if this was beforehand, and this might lead to my next question or point, is that you were saying Jesus would not have been white because of what? Do you recall that conversation?
Oh, yeah. Like, yeah, I mean, he was born a Jew, and, you know, he would be most likely very Middle Eastern looking. I mean, obviously we don't know exactly what he looked like, but that's from the ethnicity he came from. So I would imagine that he would be very dark skinned, dark hair, the features of Arab or Middle East. And thankfully, like, my father was very, like, he loved studying the Old Testament, the Jewish culture, Israel's culture, the nation of Israel. And so in my mind's eye, kind of imagining what Jesus looked like, he was always dark, like Arab or Middle Eastern look, which that's where, you know, historically the Bible explains him coming from. Whereas God was always, you know, Father, God, Creator, was always a God of all cultures, like outside of a specific ethnicity. Like it's never been in my imagination or my mind's eye of trying to grasp that. Never. And even if you look at Genesis, the description, I mean, it's not at all anything to do with a specific ethnicity. So definitely not white. If anything, you know, he would be a darker, Middle Eastern or
yeah. See, I think that's very powerful, what you're saying, because religion, in my experience, has been for so long used as a form of control, in my opinion, you know, throughout slavery and throughout the birth of the nation and throughout the world. You know, I've seen videos of white missionaries, you know, bullying other cultures and saying, you know, we are here, we're the authority, and you should listen to us. Because they associate themselves with God. Yeah. What were you saying?
No, I was just saying it like they could destroy whole communities because of that wrong view, you know. I think you brought up a good point too of people wanting to go back to, like, oh, well, the founding of our nation was based on the Bible and Christianity, which is, I don't even know how to describe how angry that makes me, because I think that was another distorted view in the strongest sense of the word. Now, if you want to go and start our country with the true biblical, like, perspective in Christianity, that's fine, but don't ever think about wanting to go back to what it was, because it was all distorted and wrong. It was probably, I mean, as much as we can remember back and understand the wrong view and the wrong teaching with the white supremacy spin of, like, Christianity, was so distorted, I think, which, like you said, they've used religion to really be authoritative and make their points or support the things that they're wanting to do, which is completely against God's heart. So I think that's a very, very dangerous road to want to go back to.
Yeah. And so the next thing I wanted to touch on was, you were saying, I think at an early age, your parents, they spent a lot of time correcting things that were wrong. And I've never heard that within a white family. So when you said that to me, that was like radical.
Which it shouldn't be, right?
No, it should not
be the norm, right? Yeah.
But can you talk a little bit about that? And you don't have to go into great detail. Just some of the, like, what were they correcting?
Yeah, so it would be, say we were watching something on TV and there was some racist comment or some type of vulgar joke or whatever it might be, and they would just be like, that is absolutely, like, completely wrong. We would never, don't ever talk to anybody like that, or we never say this word, or we, would never view people like that. They would, whether it be on TV or a movie or just out in life, someone says some comment, they would always be correcting how wrong that was, that for someone to be treated that way or some comment to be made about someone. And in fact, I mean, on the flip side, they really celebrated like a lot of, people from different colors. When there's been, stories or documentaries or movies or things about like great things that they have done, like they were always excited to share it with my sister and I and celebrate, the great progress. I mean, there was a lot of amazing doctors and other people in authorities, like some huge like discoveries in NASA and mathematicians, from people of different color. And yeah, just really wanting to point out and celebrate that we're all God's people. Like he sees us all as one, all the same. So I really appreciate that they like really pointed those things out as wrong. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I thought that was really interesting. How you said they would do that and take the time to really, I guess, educate and expose you and your sister to a lot of things as far as other races and cultures are concerned. Because Black people, and I'll just speak for Black people. I don't want to speak for any other cultures or races. I don't like to generalize too much if I can avoid it. But, we learn at an early age that we have to, in order for us to move through the world, we have to be able to live with, work with, and deal with other races and cultures. We have to learn how to deal with white people. We have to learn how to make them comfortable and not scared of us. We have to learn how to work with Hispanic people. We have to learn how to work with everybody. Otherwise, we can't survive if we don't learn how to function in that in that world. We can't stay to ourselves and survive in the United States. We have to interact with other races and cultures. And I mean, I think it's definitely changed now, but I would say, maybe back in the day a little bit more a while ago, even maybe some today, but a lot of white people don't have to do that in order to move through the world. They can stay in their bubbles and their safe zones and still be successful and move through the world without having to deal with Black people or Hispanic people or Muslims or Syrians or whatnot. Would you agree with that or not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, we learned that we have to interact and deal with other people. So I guess I was trying to touch on how you talk about your parents taking the time to do that with you guys. And so you're able to move through the world and deal with other races and cultures, as equals, and you see them as people, and you did not stick to just your safe zone, or just within your culture. You guys obviously, it's an understatement, got out and dealt with other people.
Well, yeah, I was really blessed and thankful for my parents. I know that they grew up in a time that was different than we did, but I think I shared this before, just a little bit of background of how, they just loved Black people. They loved all different people, not just, a specific, but, like my dad had one of his really, like a best friend, in his wedding, a Black friend. which is pretty out of the ordinary in that time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you look back at the wedding pictures, like, yeah, it's like pretty awesome that I know, like, went up against a lot of the things that people in the culture or people at that time would have said, but didn't care. Like, he was his best friend, or a good friend. My mom, like, when she was in university, had Black roommates. I think she said she had about 2 girls, good friends that she roomed with. So, having them just, like, that was normal in their life. Like, those were just their normal friends. It wasn't anything like any big deal. I think looking back too, there were some Black leaders, say pastors of churches, some things where I think it's really important to have just that respect, at a young age, and just developing, I remember, I think I told you too, like, I had quite a few different people in my life, like, I really highly respected in authority, Black pastors, Black teachers at high school, so it wasn't ever that I pictured them as differently or respected them less or anything like that. I think, maybe that helped just not get caught in that nasty subculture or whatever it is that, like the white supremacy of thinking that in some way, white is a higher level or leadership or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Yeah, I guess, like we said before, it was kind of like trying to work backwards and figure out, I don't know why exactly that happened, but trying to see maybe different aspects that helped get a better view of reality.
Yeah, and I don't think that most white people see or understand how subtle it is. It's not like, sometimes it's like in your face, but other times, like, it's real subtle, and it's real powerful since it's so subtle. And like I pointed out to a friend of mine, like, I grew up watching a lot of cartoons like G.I. Joe and Humane or whatever it was, I don't know. And I was pointing out, look at all the main character heroes in these cartoons.
Yeah.
They're all white men.
Right.
And if there's a Black guy in there, or an Asian guy or something, they're always like in the background or a sidekick. And I'm like, these are toys and cartoons. So, like, as a child, you see that. And if you're not careful and you don't have good parents, that can start to, like, seep into your psyche, and you can see, like, almost start to devalue yourself because you don't see yourself represented in society in a very positive light. But thank God for me, I had great parents, And I was able to, be very confident in who I am and became a very secure person and all that, all that good stuff. But it's so subtle. It's so subtle, which I think makes it so powerful. And it's so subtle. A lot of my white friends or people I talk to about this don't even see it. And they're like, oh, you're exaggerating, or you're just kind of pulling that stuff out of your butt. I'm like, no, it's there. It's real. Like, just look. Yeah. Just look at the cartoons. Look at the heroes.
Right.
Look at the movies. Right. Like, it just now kind of started changing where you're starting to see more diverse cartoons and diversity in movies. And you're seeing women starring in movies and stuff now. Like, I won't say it's just Black people or Hispanic or Asian, you're starting to see women now and being the heroes in movies and stuff. And I think that's important. I think that imagery is very important.
Yeah.
Like my son is obviously mixed, and I'm trying to figure out, how do I put positive images in front of him. And since he's mixed, I don't really know. I don't know what to do exactly with him, because he's half black, he's half. I don't even want to say white. My wife's German. She got some other things in her. I forget. But he's going to have brown skin, and so I do make an effort to, like, I have a lot of posters and stuff around my house, so I make a point to put those images up, like of it could be Martin Luther King, it could be who do I have in there? Just a lot of positive black men and women, and white women as well, and women in general. So I'm purposely putting these images in front of him, so he'll see them as he grows up, and maybe he'll have a better understanding of how to treat people, and he'll value himself, and it's just stuff I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, no, you bring up a really valid point, because, look at media, look at what pictures are in the textbooks that the students are learning, information. There's different examples that they're seeing. I think, like you said, it's getting better over time. You're seeing more of a mix of different cultures, even having like women with hijabs and advertisements or different types of pictures like that. But I think, that it's really important to expose them to like the beautiful color and diversity of the human race, rather than keep people in isolation, like this group and that group and another group, and putting them in categories of like, well, this group of people are known for, or like they do that, and then this group, they're like the leaders and they blah blah blah, and this group, they're the and like kind of categorize, rather than expose like, well, men and women can be leaders and can be heroes, like you were saying. Just I think also what you were saying about being mixed, like for example, my sister, her husband is from Mexico, and so they have 5 kids that obviously are mixed, and just helping them cope with yes, you are fully Mexican and you are fully like white American, or and just kind of accepting that you don't have to choose one or the other, and you don't have to be this sub blend, or like just focusing on like, you are a unique individual just like anyone else, and you have really great talents and abilities, and yes, you do have traits and genetic makeup from these different places and or these different backgrounds, but to celebrate that as not out of the ordinary, or like, oh, that's weird, or I don't know where to fit, but that's okay. Like that doesn't identify who you are as a human being. And I think we need to be really careful as people. Like, for example, I have some friends that are half Asian, half white, or like, I mean, they could be like one background, maybe like Thailand or China or wherever, and people are just, they come up and say the most obnoxious things like, oh, well, what are you? Like they wouldn't like put them in some category, and it's like, well, I'm a person.
What are you?
Exactly, right? So yeah, I mean, I think it's a big problem that's out there that may be slowly getting better, but like you said, just constantly exposing kids as they're growing up to the diversity and embracing the beauty of that.
Yeah. It's about 1 or 2 more things here, so I'm kind of wrapping up here. I know it's Getting late. So, you're a Christian, right? That's what you were saying?
Yes.
Okay. So, how is it that you are a Christian and you're able to accept other religions? I find that interesting because most of my experience with Christians is we are the only religion. Like everybody else is just pretending. Is kind of the message I've gotten from most Christians. And so I find it interesting that you are able to do what you do.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it comes back to like the humanity of it. It's people are people, and I don't judge it according to what they believe. I want to, bless their lives, get to know them, be their friends, help, support with their children with special needs, help people through woundedness, like no matter what, it doesn't matter the background. And, I've met some of the most genuine, beautiful hearts from, just more of my experience has been Muslim women. I'm sure there's other, I don't want to isolate them. It could be Hinduism or Buddhism or wherever, but, for some people that claim to be Christians, that don't really live it or think anything about it on a day-to-day basis, some of these Muslim women that I have met and, walked through life with and celebrated, Ramadan and different holidays with them. They have the most genuine, beautiful love for their creator God and really wanting and desiring to follow him and be pleasing, to him, doing things that would be righteous and good and bless other people, above and beyond some of the people who might claim to be a Christian would have even, never hasn't even scratched the surface of that type of commitment or faithfulness. So, as a Christian, I do believe that there is a creator God and that it's only through Jesus that we can be saved at the end, not by our works. But that just because I believe that as truth doesn't mean that I can't still live life and love and embrace all these other people from different backgrounds, different thoughts with religion, different beliefs, and realize that they genuinely can have faith in these things too. It's just human to human, right?
Yeah.
If people want to talk about it, I would be happy to share. But I'm also interested in hearing what they have to say as well. And at the end of the day, I just want to love and bless people and, help them in whatever maybe hurt or situation that they're in, make it a better life somehow. And regardless of the religion, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, so it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like you're saying the human interaction pretty much trumps anything else that's happening?
Yeah, definitely, right.
Okay, that's what I think that. Like I said, I don't want to put words in your mouth.
No, yeah.
Because I feel the same way. I'm personally not religious, but I do believe in God. And I'm able to talk and communicate with anybody.
Oh, yeah.
A Christian, an atheist, a Buddhist, a Muslim. And a lot of people, they don't make fun of me, but they'll tease me and they'll be like, Matt, everybody's Matt's friend,
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah.
I'll be talking to, like and forgive me here, like I'll be talking to like the like nerdiest white person you'll ever meet, and then like a second later I'll be talking to like a Syrian friend of mine, or then I'll be talking to a real like I don't know, militant black person or whatever. But I'm always saying to people, I'm like, they're just people.
Exactly.
Like, it's not rocket science, man. Like, if you have a conversation with them, you'll see that they're just people.
Right.
Like, that's all it is, man. Like, don't overthink it. Like, we're all very different and diverse, but I think we all kind of have a lot of similar things as far as I think most people want to communicate. Most people want to be loved and love and want to be social. I think we have a lot of those kind of basic things in common. Like, one of the stupidest things I've ever heard is like, some white friends of mine said, hey, Matt, like, I'm like the only black person they might know. And they'll say something like, oh, Matt, you're cool, but you're different, And I'll say, no, I'm not different than the other black people. You just know me. I'm like, that's it, They're like, oh, Matt, but you're different. I'm like, no, I'm not.
Wow.
You just know me. So, life.
And that's just sad that people want to put everybody in a box. They just are missing out on them for themselves. They just make it an emptier life when they do that. They're missing out. I mean, I've had some of the best friends from all over, all different, like religious backgrounds, all different beliefs. Really good, like gay friends.
As well.
It doesn't matter. Like all that stuff, whether I agree with it or not, with the, that aspect doesn't matter with our friendship, right? I just love those people as they are. And, it's so good. I'm really glad that you're bringing that up. Yeah.
Yeah. So the last thing I want to kind of touch on real quick was, if somebody's listening to this podcast right now and they're thinking to themselves, man, I would like to see the world and travel more and, expose myself to more, what kind of advice could you offer that person? Like, where do you think they could even start? Would it just be, saving some money and traveling and going somewhere? Should it be, them seeing, are there any opportunities in their field of work? What kind of advice would you have for a person that's wanting to, and you know what? It doesn't even have to be, abroad. It could even be here in the United States, because there's a lot of issues here as well.
Mm-hmm. I guess, like, a word of caution real quick before, is to, like, if you do a short term or just travel a little bit, that's definitely great. I encourage that. But, a lot of times you can get a really skewed view of a place, or, like if you're staying in hotels or doing some type of sightseeing, like you might not be exposed to true culture and really get to know the people. So just a word of caution, if you do like a short-term, like quick thing, just be careful. I would suggest, if at all possible, either trying to sign up for some type of humanitarian aid, like helping build houses or volunteer. There's a lot of, great organizations out there doing relief work, bringing food or water, different types of projects. And I would say at least 2 weeks, if not more. That way you can really see a little bit more of real life and not just fancy hotels and comfortable places, even if they're not fancy, like more comfortable, but more like get into the lives of the people in the community.
Are you saying it's safer to go with a group? Is that what you're saying, or you're just saying that's a way to do it?
Yeah, just more that it's a way to do it in order to, get connected to people from that culture or place. But definitely, if people are interested, I would go for like looking at themselves first. What's your passion? What do you love doing? Even if it's just something fun, like, I don't know, a hobby, or it doesn't have to be some superstar job, like being a doctor or dentist, or, those are all great things. And definitely would be really, really useful. But even if you don't have a specialty area, even if there's some, thing that you enjoy doing, maybe seeing how you could take that into a community and really bless it in some way. But yeah, I mean, I know there's a lot of good organizations, like just do your research online, make sure it's legit and, good reputation, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, look first at yourself. What are you passionate about? Because if you just go and spend a couple weeks doing a lot of labor and type of, humanitarian work, that's great, but you're not necessarily going to enjoy it if your heart's not into it. So, yeah, kind of see what your passion is, what your giftings are, and then look for opportunities to, bless the community in those ways.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to touch on that real quick. If there was someone who was, kind of wondering how can they enter in that to that kind of world. I just, when you hear somebody who's done it and they're not on a movie screen or on CNN, it's like a real person. I think that's a little more real to them. And they're like, oh, like this is accessible. This is something that, I could actually do. So I just wanted to make sure that people knew there were ways to do it.
Yeah.
My wife would love to do something like that. I'm not built for that. I mean, I'm not even going to lie. Like she went to Jamaica a few years back, and her and her sister, and they stayed with a friend of theirs that was there on some kind of mission of some sort. And so they stayed in Jamaica, not the Jamaica that I would know if I went there.
Right.
I would be at the resort.
Yeah.
And she was like in Jamaica, and she was saying it changed her life.
Yeah.
It just changed her life. I can't even tell you the ways that she would have to tell you that, but she was just saying it changed her life. Seeing what Jamaica was really like and what it really looked like, outside of the touristy area.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So, we've been going on for a while now. Like I said, I'm going to have to break this up into 2 parts. So, you'll be the guest for 2 weeks. All right, and I don't know if you're subscribed to the podcast or not yet, but you can on Spotify or iTunes, so you can go listen to yourself.
That would be torture. No, I hope you edit. Yes, you edit all my ridiculousness.
I don't really think you said anything ridiculous. I mean, I don't think you did.
I'm sure when I go back, I'll be like, oh my word, I can't believe I said that.
Yeah. I'm really happy I reconnected with you, and I'm really happy I was able to do something and give you some sort of platform, to talk about your experiences and share them with people. It makes me feel good because, you're doing what you're doing and I can't do what you do, but I can do this, I can share what you do through what I do. So that might sound silly.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I hope that, you are able to connect with, Leah and, Kondo. I think Leah would have some really, really cool things.
Yeah.
Like
I've been talking with her a little bit. Yeah.
Have you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah, but thanks again. Like, it's been, great to reconnect and great to talk through some of these things where you just feel like so passionate and just wish, I want to tell the world, and wish they had the same view. But yeah, I guess it starts a little at a time, right?
Yeah. So if you can do me a favor and just hang on the line real quick, I want to wrap everything up here. Okay. I want to thank everybody for listening, and you again can subscribe on Spotify or iTunes. It's free. Just go there and search for The Grip. You don't have to put in podcast. Just type in The Grip, and again, you'll see my pretty face there. And then you can also go to BeHumane.live, and if you want, you can get a Be Humane wristband. They're $5, and the reason I created those wristbands are so that you can wear them and people see them and ask you what it is, and you can tell them, what your Be Humane is and what your belief is. And it's a conversation starter that I try to create to start conversations in society with people, and you can share what it is that you believe in. We don't all have to have the same Be Humane agenda or topic or movement. It's just whatever's important to you. And so you can get those, and those also support what I'm doing and helps me put on these podcasts and that sort of thing. So yeah, you can go get your Be Humane wristbands there. And other than that, I think that should be it. I'll be back with another guest in 2 weeks. Like I said, we're going to have Joanna on here in 2 parts. And if you have any questions for her, you can send them to my Instagram, and I'll forward them to her. Again, I didn't want to say your last name because I don't know how much you want exposed out there, Joanna. So I just left it. That's your first name.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Okay. Okay, so that's it. Hang on the line real quick, Joanna. And I'll go ahead and wrap this up real quick here.